Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. Today we're going to be doing a quilting play-by-play for our latest Stashin with Stephanie design, Celestial. This is a fat quarter friendly design that I put together for our Stashin with Stephanie Club, but if you're not a member, you can still grab a pattern and a kit while supplies last. And it uses almost all of the fat quarters. There's almost no waste in this one to create this really beautiful large diamond block. It's strip piece with no Y seams, and we have a complete tutorial on how to piece that together, so you can follow along with that. It actually goes pretty fast. I did my entire quilt from start to finish, including designing it, in 5 days. So that is pretty fast. So it really is a fun one. I had a lot of fun with it. And so in today's one, I'm going to show you how I did what I called a Wavy Line Special. And I had 1 day to quilt this, but I really still wanted to have a custom look to it where I was following the lines of the diamond, so that way the quilting texture would mimic the texture of the block going out and just help support it. That's always my goal with quilting, is to accentuate the design and the fabric. So for this month's design, I chose a really kind of light paley blue teal, and I did that as an all over for everything because it matched really well with my background, and those colors were also throughout the quilt, so you can see it. You can definitely see the thread when we're in our darker colors, but it coordinates well enough to where it looks like it's supposed to be there. And from a distance, it mostly just looks like texture. So it really is pretty. I think it looks fabulous. But if I would have had more time, I probably would have changed up colors a lot more, but I did not. So this is what we had to work with today. All right, so when we do the quilting play-by-plays, we actually attach a GoPro to my long arm handle so you can see it as I'm quilting it, and I can talk you through what I'm doing and why I'm making the decisions I am, especially in this quilt, is going to be related to the path that I take. Because since there's going to be 5 passes, essentially if we start on one side of the diamond, we're going to end on the other. And then there is sometimes a little bit of traveling that needs to happen along the seam. And how you travel can impact how long it takes you to do it, because there are smart ways to travel and then there are not so smart ways to travel. So we're going to kind of cover that in today's lesson. Before we get into that, though, I want to tell you just a little bit about Stashin with Stephanie. It's a subscription club that we have here at Quilt Addicts Anonymous, where we send out our members 10 fat quarters for $32.49 plus shipping. That is about a $40 value, so you're saving right off the bat from there. Plus, we design a pattern that you can use the fabric with. You never have to, but if you are looking for something to do with it, we always come up with something for you. It's been inspired by the fabric. I never start designing until I have the fabric in hand, because I want to look at it and really come up with something that does the fabric justice. And so we come up with something new every single month. We have dozens and dozens of quilt patterns to choose from that you can use with your stash as well. So when you join, we're going to send you a coupon code that is going to get you 12 Stashin with Stephanie patterns for free. So that is a $144 value right off the bat as soon as you join, that you can do. Maybe pick something from your stash to get started on while you're waiting for that first bundle to come, and you can have some fun with that. Then afterwards, for the first 6 months of your membership, we send you a coupon code when we send out each bundle that gets you access to 2 more patterns. So you can get that month's pattern plus another one that you didn't get when you got your initial 12. Once you've been a member for 6 months or more, you get access to every single pattern that we've ever done for Stashin with Stephanie, and that is over a $400 value right now, so it pays to stick around for a little bit. We also have discounts on my 2 fat quarter books, Fat Quarter Patchwork Quilts and Fat Quarter Workshop. It's a 30% off discount on those, and you get a signed copy from me. And in addition to that, you also get 20% off any additional fabric you purchase. So 10 fat quarters is not enough to make a very large quilt. So what we do is we put together what's called a finishing kit, which includes the 5 fat quarters you did not receive, plus your background and binding. And when you combine that with your bundle, you have enough to do the full quilt as I've designed it and made the sample with. And then also you can get yardage if you want to make it bigger, you have something different in mind, you want coordinating backing. you know, the possibilities are endless. If you just really like a collection, you want a lot of it, you can do that as well. So it's a really great club to be a part of. There's a lot of discounts, so it's a lot of ways to really save on getting new fabric and get inspired for new projects, and also be able to really get through that stash some too, because you can get a lot of fat quarter patterns and you can really bust that stash with that when you're not working on a quilt. And we try to make all the patterns pretty quick to get through because, you know, we want you to be able to do one in a month if you so choose. Like I said, I did mine in less than a week this time, including the quilting and the binding and the designing of the quilt. So it's pretty crazy. So not all of you are going to work as fast as I am or as much as I am once the fabric arrives, but that's totally doable. All right, let's get into the quilting play-by-play. All right, so the first thing I did was I marked off where the center of my diamond was, because not all the diamonds are true diamonds out to the end. So I marked from where that center was, and then I came in to my point. And now I'm working my outside diamond. This is essentially the path I take for all the diamonds. They're just going to be larger and a different scale depending on how large the diamond is. So now we're coming back in from the other side. Now I'm going to split the difference. I'm going straight down the center of that, the outside in the middle, and we're going to do the same thing on the other half. Now keep in mind there's no turn on this one because we don't have that part of the diamond because this one is cut off. Now for the outside ones only, I did 7 lines of quilting in there because I really thought that it needed more in terms of density in order to fill it and make it look more like what's going on the inside of the quilt. I only did 5 on the inner diamonds, but for this one I'm also splitting that difference yet again and working my way down so that I can get 7 wavy lines. And when I do wavy lines, like, they are pretty arbitrary. All right, so I did use my slim ruler to travel because I needed to get to that point. And you'll notice I started on that bottom right point because I want to make sure that I'm ending in the upper part of that so that I can work my way around those blocks pretty well. So you can see here, I'm doing the same thing. I did my outer, my center, my outers, and then split the difference to do kind of those quarters. But you know, it's on a much smaller scale because that is a much smaller diamond than one we just worked with. So when I do a wavy line, I don't try to follow a particular path. I'm following the outline of the diamond, so that way the wavy line is kind of taking on that diamond shape. But I don't have a specific, this wave needs to look like this every single time, because that's not realistic to follow when you're doing it as free motion. It could on a computerized machine, but that's different. But you can see I'm just kind of making my way across. I'm always trying to start with that center and then do my outsides. And then we're going to split our difference again. And we're going to end up at the top. So here I have 2 options. You can see I've been going to the right. What I probably should have done was come up, because now I'm going to end kind of at the top there. And there's always going to be some traveling involved because you're not going to end at the point of the next diamond that you need to start in most cases. But you can limit how much you travel by smartly moving around the quilt. So you can see here I'm traveling across the top of that, and I am traveling just right next to where that seam allowance is. I press my seams open so there's really no ditch to travel in, so I kind of call it a modified stitch in the ditch, where I'm going just right next to it instead of right on top or right in the middle of. But you can see here everything's going pretty well, and I can just move my piece over. And I'm either, in this case, traveling at the top or at the bottom, depending on where I need to get to next. So when I was doing this and working my way around the block, I tried to do one entire block at a time as I was making my way across. That way I didn't miss anything. And, you know, it's the worst thing, and I've done this, is to get your entire quilt off the long arm and then you find out you missed like one triangle or one diamond. That is no fun. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So I just try to go, you know, one diamond at a time. Like I certainly could go over, like that's the edge of the block. I could go over into the next one and then I wouldn't have to travel, but I also would risk maybe not doing all the diamonds in this, and that is no good. It's also worth noting I did not have my extension, my long arm extension table on for this one. And it was because I had cut my backing not wide enough. So I would be running into constantly the clips with that if I had put it on. And because these diamonds were so small and I was working with the slim, which is also kind of a smaller ruler, I was okay. I didn't have it flipping all over, but ideally you would want to have that. All right, so now I've got some decisions to make because I need to finish up the outside of the diamond, but I also need to do that inside big diamond. So at this point I could do either of those things, and it just is a matter of how much traveling I need to do. Now I could have done more than 5 passes in this one, but I really kind of like the way that it looked. The density is not the same as the density in the smaller triangles or in the smaller diamonds. And that is something that like a quilt judge might dock you for if you were to get this judged. But, you know, I like it, and I'm not quilting for quilt judges. I'm quilting for me, and I'm quilting for you guys. So I know that you guys aren't gonna, you know, think that less of me because I'm a little less dense right here than other places. But you can see I was able to just travel down that area and get to the next point. So that's really the biggest thing you want to think about is where am I going to end up? Because again, if we start at the top left, we're going to end at the bottom right. So how are we going to transfer that? Where do we want to be? So there I had options. I could have gone underneath to get to the point, but then I would have ended up not in a great spot because I would have had to travel more than one diamond distance to get where I wanted to go next. So that's kind of what you want to think about when you're choosing where to go. And it's going to be trial and error as you figure out where you want to go next. So here I'm going up to the top corner because then I'm going to end at the bottom right, and I'm going to be able to go right into the next block without having to travel within the block that or within the diamond that I just finished. So that is kind of how I make my assumptions about this. And when I was thinking about this originally, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll do like one entire diamond and just do one giant wavy line within it. But this was about 2 inches too tall than would actually fit on my long arm. So that, you know, limited me. I quilt on an APQS Lenny, which has about 14 inches of space to work with once you have everything loaded on, which in most cases is perfect for me. I'm short, I'm only 5'2", I don't have a long wingspan, and you only have control for as far out as you can reach. So for me, that's perfect. For somebody who's taller, and you might want to consider going to a little bit bigger throat space than that, because then you will have control further back, which I do not. I have worked on ones that have like 36-inch throat spaces, and it's just not, like I can't, it's no point. It's wasted space for me because I can't reach that far back. Anyway, I don't have the control. I mean, I could. It wouldn't look very good when I'm out there. You've got a sweet spot, and it's whatever you can get from here to here. That's your sweet spot. And so that's something to think about when you're thinking about what to do for a long arm. Also, Lenny is really well priced. So that's one of the reasons why I went with that one. Now, if you want to do everything computerized, get the biggest like throat space you can do, because you can program it to do a lot more in one pass, and that will save you time. But that is essentially the block. I'm calling it the Wavy Line Special because, you know, it looks gorgeous. It's a custom quilted quilt. I got it done in about 6 hours from start to finish, not including my breaks in between, but it looks gorgeous. Each block is quilted individually, but we use one thread so that way we could go straight, you know, from edge to edge and have it turn out great. Each, you know, diamond has its own look, its own texture. It follows the you know, the block design and helps accentuate that. It doesn't detract from it. I love it. I love how it turned out. This is a great option for someone who wants a custom look, but still needs to get it done relatively quickly. So that's the block. That's how it works out. And thank you so much for following along. We'll let you guys watch how I move around this a little bit more for the rest of the video, so you guys can watch the path, because that's something that is not super intuitive when you get started. I would not have been able to move across this as easily when I first started quilting, because your brain eventually just knows, okay, this is the best way to do it. Like when I describe this sometimes, like I'm a person where I can see step A and step D, and I just understand how B and C need to be completed to get to D. And not everybody is that way. Their minds don't always work that way. Some people need all the explanation for A, B, C, and then they can get to D. But my mind, I can see A, I can see D, and then it's like, okay, well, this is a really good way, efficient way to get to that point. And that's just how my brain has always functioned. So for some of you guys, it might be more of a struggle, and it also may just take time of doing it again and again and again. I have done so many diamond quilts and worked my way across different quilts to understand, okay, this works. And there are even times when I'm like, oh, well, I could have done that more efficiently if I would have done it this way instead. And I also never quilt or film this on my first pass, because I'm still figuring it out. I'm figuring out, okay, what is my best way to do this? But that's what your first and second passes are for, to try to figure out, okay, this is going to be my most efficient way, and then I'm going to do it this way for the rest of the quilt. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've learned something. I hope you can see that you can do like an all over design technically that is more custom to your blocks, that can really bring your quilt to life, help bring your design to life, and get it done in a fairly quick way. I mean, 6 hours is not bad. This is like a 72 by 76 inch quilt. It's not small. It's not as big as it could be, but it's also not small. But you know, it looks fabulous. It didn't take a ton of time, but I didn't just do some all over wham bam thank you ma'am thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There are times when that's needed, but you can still get great results by just putting in a little bit of extra effort to go in between the, you know, all over everything and the super fancy like 7 cents a square inch types of designs. So check that out. Check out Stashin with Stephanie. If you sign up before the end of the month, your first bundle is going to ship around the 22nd-ish of May. We already had the fabric in-house. It's very, very gorgeous. There are owls. There may be fussy cutting because, you know, I love a good owl and I want it front and center. It's gotta be fabulous. So we'll see. That'll be the first time we fussy cut for a Stashin with Stephanie pattern, but we have done it in other ones. I got some grief from Bobby about how I've killed several hummingbirds here by cutting off their heads. So we're gonna fussy cut some owls so we don't massacre the owls, but it'll be fun. So check that out. Join by the end of the month in order to get your first bundle in May. Otherwise, you'll be waiting until June if you wait till the beginning of May to join. So check that out, and until next time, happy quilting.